When I started my PhD 8-9 years ago, I was really looking at the challenges that racialized women face in organizations, and we did identify a lot of challenges that they do face. A critical one being the fact that they often become invisible, so they're not seen, they're not heard, they're not taken seriously. And I was really drawn to figuring out, well, what can we do to address these issues? How can we prevent these things from happening or interrupt them when they're happening? And so I was drawn to sort of the problem-solving aspect of equity, diversity, and inclusion research. And one of the ways I really saw action being able to, us being able to take action immediately, today, tomorrow, was through allyship. In our allyship research, we're really looking at allied relationships between racialized women and their allies. So what we did is we went ahead and recruited racialized women from organizations across Canada, and we asked them to nominate individuals that they considered allies in their workplace. So people who advocate for them, support them, and then we interviewed both the racialized women as well as their allies separately to find out what women of color were expecting from their allies, as well as how allies were enacting their behaviors, and tried to see if there were gaps, if there was convergence, and where the convergence happens is really the sweet spot. So what we really found is that there's 3 ways in which allyship can be effective and it can affect tangible change for racialized women. So first is, are you centering the women that you're trying to support, understand their needs, understand their perspectives, and what they're looking for in terms of career progression or success, instead of imposing your own framework of what success looks like. Second, do you respect their expertise, their knowledge, in terms of both telling you what they need from you, as well as what their career aspirations are, what their competencies are, what they're bringing to the table. So really valuing that and seeing them as inherently valuable to the organization. And finally, are you able to translate all of this into action instead of staying with just good intentions? All of us have good intentions, we want to do the right thing, but that does not necessarily mean that we're engaging in behaviors that are going to lead to tangible change. So how can we sort of collate all of this into structural, tangible steps and actions? My advice for those who are looking to be better allies would be, it requires ongoing learning. Are we focused on labeling ourselves allies, or are we practicing allyship? Are we trying to figure out where our positions lie? We all have privilege and different ways of using it. The fact that I'm doing this interview, I'm an Ivey professor, means that I have a lot of privilege, despite the fact that I'm a racialized woman, I'm an immigrant from India. And so how am I able to understand my privilege and leverage it, use my power to support and advocate for other people? Am I comfortable making mistakes? We're all learning, we're sort of muddling through how to figure out doing equity better. Mistakes are going to happen, but if we're scared to take action because of the fear of making mistakes, we're paralyzed with fear, right? And so are we comfortable making mistakes, learning from them, committing to not making the same mistakes again, and sort of having the willingness and openness to actually learning, so a learning orientation mindset really. And that, what we find, really translates into the right kind of behavior and actions.